A lot of my path in spirituality has come from trying to understand why.
Yeah.
Why? Because some people focus on what they have and others focus on what they don't have. So if you can get someone to start looking at who they are differently, in a way, you're going to change everything about their health. That you're not your thoughts and your feelings. You're beyond, and you have control. You can take control of the wheel, kind of your car.
So what is your thoughts around plant medicine? Does that play a role in functional medicine at all? Is that...
It comes up a lot. The thing about Ibogaine, when you look at it, it shifts the brain in a way. You get this 3-month window.
Here we go again.
Yeah, so here we go again. So,
okay, first off, your name and where we're at.
Okay, my name's Cambria Judd.
Okay.
And we're at my clinic in Newport Beach called Beyond Functional Medicine.
Okay.
We've been open about a year here. And before that, I started with Hogue as a concierge doctor.
Okay.
And then I started practicing functional medicine in that space just out of necessity, seeing patients coming in and wanting to really get and fix things instead of be medicated. And so it just, in that container that they were doing, I couldn't do the same thing and see the same amount of patients. So it was just it didn't fit the model. And so I resigned. Well, I just said, I think, I got to go out on my own, because the whole concierge program was set up for doing something a little different than I was doing. And that's when the CEO of Hogue Hospital called and asked me to lunch and asked if I'd start a program for them. I told him a little bit about why I was leaving and what I did. And he knew enough about it to know that people were asking about it, the board members were interested in it. And, I felt really lucky he trusted me to say, go start a program.
Wow.
And so I just thought that's such an opportunity, and I felt like it was so needed in the community. But I knew I wanted to eventually be on my own. And so, I said, okay, I'll do that, but I will leave eventually. I'll give you 3 years. I'll do my best to build something I didn't feel at the time I saw exist anywhere. And I said, I don't even know if I can, but I'll do my best. But I just want you to know I'll leave. So are you okay with that? Because I didn't want to let anyone down. And so, that's how that started. I built that. We started just my medical assistant and I, got first nutritionist.
How long ago was this?
We started the program 2020, fall of 2020 or 2021.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
Yeah.
That was then. We started up at a little tiny clinic on Newport Coast, the urgent care.
Oh wow.
I was just camped out in an office there, and then Jamboree campus got built. We moved there, but it was, it was a fun. I learned a lot, from that situation.
So for people that don't know functional medicine, which is a lot, what is functional medicine?
So it's a term, I think, integrative, you hear integrative, holistic medicine, and those things are a little non-specific. So I think Cleveland Clinic or Jeff Bland, Mark Hyman, who really have coined the term functional medicine, wanted to have it mean something specific. And it really means the science-based way of reversing disease.
Okay.
Right? So that's kind of what we do in medicine. We have a science-based ways of treating disease. So this is like a science-based way of reversing disease. Oh, wow. So holistic medicine is looking at the whole person. Integrative is really that you're integrating different specialties, maybe, chiropractic or acupuncture, but it doesn't specifically say like a mode of evaluating, where functional medicine is like a curriculum where you learn to go backwards and reverse disease.
Wow. Okay, so now you are typically reversing disease through, what is something that, are you using a lot of different, I know supplements play a big role. It's part of it. So there's so many different layers to functional medicine. And so what is one of the, if I looked at one of the packages over there, I guess so many people don't even know what that is, but it's fascinating of what it can do. So how do you generally, someone's, they're being treated using medication, right? But you're talking about going in reverse, starting from what you have. Like I got diagnosed with diabetes last year, autoimmune. And so functional medicine would look at it instead of just giving me what they gave me, which, they gave me tirzepatide, which was, amazing in itself. It cut my insulin down like dramatically. But so how would you, when someone first comes into functional medicine, if they don't know what they don't know, what do you initially do with them?
Yeah, well, I think right now there's so much demand because people are sick. Like
Yeah.
at Hoag, we had like the lowest cost per lead on anything because we didn't advertise much. People found us.
Mm.
And I knew that functional medicine is, a little bit more fringe. There's most people practitioners, most are not MDs. Because I think MDs go through your traditional, and then you're in a residency, and then you start a practice, and it's really hard to convert over.
Yeah.
I got lucky in my timing and how it came to me. But when someone comes in, usually they're looking for us because they're online and they're like, oh, functional medicine might be an option, and then they get into that. So they kind of know something. What they don't know is how this all started. They just know most of them have been to different specialists, have had big things ruled out, and then been told that's all they can do, or been put on a medication that they don't feel great on. And so they want something more. So I think it's really important for people to understand their bodies. And it's interesting, I think, that we don't really teach anything about that.
No.
And here you live with it your whole life.
Even that alone, knowing your body, people doesn't know, they don't even know what that means. What does it mean to know your body?
Right, like to know what makes you feel energized, how much sleep matters, what matters, and what's the your return on investment on different lifestyle things.
What's making you well and what's making you sick.
Yeah, what's making you sick. So I try to clear that up. So when most people come in, we have them fill out a pretty in-depth intake, just because it's something I could read really quickly, whereas if I had to ask someone all those questions, it would take hours. And so that I would read through that. This was the program when we did it at Hoag. And then I would go in, and I've read it all, so they know. And I then tell them I would say, tell me your story. And for that first part, I would just say, where were you born? Just start and hit me with any highlights, because I really wanted to understand where they were coming from, who they were. You can watch someone and see a lot.
Okay, so people saying, where were you born, right? There was a thing that came to that if you live near a golf course, that the pesticides that they blow onto the golf course, if you were downwind from that where they blew pesticides, that there was a, I don't want to know, say
huge
a percentage
more.
Yes, huge percentage more of you getting some type of sickness. So location, people are like, what does it really matter?
Yeah, so these are kind of things you can tease out, right? That wouldn't come up normally.
Wow.
And so then, and you hear lots of stuff. You're going to hear, they're going to tell you the things that come to their mind that are top shelf, that they remember, that affect them. Because I say, tell me, it doesn't just have to be diagnosis or symptoms, life events, anything that's significant for you. And just kind of we're going to talk for about 40 minutes. So just give me the overshoot. And then once I have all that, I usually would stand up and start getting on the board and start teaching. Say, okay, so what constitutes health? Do you know what makes up your health? And it's interesting. People are kind of like, lifestyle, that usually is one. I'm like, yeah, lifestyle. So that includes how you eat, sleep, level of activity, right? What else? And so we'd write these things on the board. So it's like genetics. Okay, yeah, genetics plays a part. Environment plays a part. Downwind, pesticides, emotional environments as well, right? And then how about your outlook on life? And does that actually affect your health? It does, right? Because some people focus on what they have, and others focus on what they don't have.
Wow. And
some focus on shame, and some, depending on what you focus on, that is a vibrational energy, and we're all energy, this planet, this is science. So that also affects your health. So all these things are constantly fluctuating, affecting in lifetime how you're feeling. Genetics, we like to say in functional medicine, loads the gun, but usually other things trigger. Whether that disease is triggered or not depends on the other things we talked about.
Environment.
Yeah. So functional medicine looks at kind of systems, right? Instead of organ systems, it's kind of like the transport system would be how fluid moves through. So lymph system, obviously blood. You've got the musculoskeletal system. You've got the assimilation and digestion, so gut, right? You have hormones, which are communications, how the body like kind of speaks to each other. You got detoxification. So we kind of explain these systems, and then it's an interchange of all of them because they're all communicating and affecting each other. And so it's trying to understand that. So I try to give people, a fundamental, like teach these principles so that they can wrap their head around it. And I'll explain it, and I don't know why I just explain it like this because it's how I think of it, as the body being in balance. I remember when I did sports medicine, we'd see all these injuries, and they'd be like, oh, it's an overuse injury here, an overuse injury. And I was like, it's really not an overuse, it's an unbalanced, because, you injure usually in the concentric movement, really. And it's a lack of eccentric strength that's balancing that muscle. That's the opposite. And it's really, that's everything. It's in body, it's in science is balance. So when you look at, I say, okay, like take your health on a scale, right? And a supply, what are you giving your body? And demand, what are you asking of it every day, right?
Wow.
So let's see what affects those things. So, sleep, we talk about what matters, why do we sleep? Why after all these years of evolution do we still need to sleep every day, otherwise we die, right?
Yeah.
What times matter more? Diet. How the hell do you even know where to start, on that? Can we even bridge the gap these days with nutrients and other things? Exercise. Is there such a thing as too much, too little? How do you balance that? Detox. How do you detox? You detoxing well. What determines that? There's some genetic factors on that too. And then, kind of stress. So those are kind of like 5 that we talk about that are fluctuating every day. And then there's some other physical demands that I have to always make sure I look at, like 3 big things: blood sugar changes, oxygen, not getting oxygen, let's say obstructive sleep apnea. If someone has bad obstructive sleep apnea, if you don't fix it, it's like your house is burning down. Doesn't matter what you do in the bedrooms. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You don't even want to, you have to deal with these. So a chronic inflammation going on, let's say a mold, really out of control COVID, spike protein on the loose type of thing, you got to settle those things down, because that's like a 4-alarm fire to the body. The body's going to just focus on that.
Yeah.
And so then I try to explain to people like why your body is trying to keep you alive, and you're wondering why it's not doing what you're supposed to do, right? So it becomes a lot of teaching and understanding their own body.
A lot of it seems to be teaching. A lot of education.
I do a lot of teaching. I mean, because I really am the most passionate about that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you know, you can manage yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Eventually you get them to a point to where eventually they're with you long enough, and you educate them on this framework or these principles, as you say. And you eventually, if they spend a certain amount of time with you, they're like, I actually kind of know my body right now. But I did not unless I went to Cambria. Because where are people taught about any of that?
None. They're not.
You have to have some type of, want for this to even go on YouTube or a book or anything like that to even do that. But no one's taught this.
Well, and we live in capital. It's fine. People are selling something, and sometimes, and there's some really benefit from that one thing, but people have a hard time making a decision on if it helps them or not, because they don't understand the principles of health. So that's like fundamental. That I feel that it's like when you're teaching your kids, you can have a list of every rule, but if you teach them some basic principles of what integrity is, these things, they should be able to ask themselves endless amounts of questions and know what the answer is, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I try to do in teaching basic principles that can be applied to any situation.
Wow.
So that they can know how to manage themselves.
Yeah, because I was thinking about that this morning, I take magnesium every night. And I'm actually, so for people, we're so used to, correct me if I'm wrong here, so used to feeling like instant gratification is a big thing. And so when you eat this certain types of food, which it's so designed to make you addicted and to make you get that hit, that when it comes to these certain supplements or these things, if people don't feel it, then they're really going to not think that it's actually doing anything. And so when you go and take a Xanax or a pain med or alcohol or a great juicy burger or whatever, a sweet,
Yeah, you get that dopamine right away.
You get a hit, but then you go and you use one of these amazing supplements that you have on the shelf here, And you're not going to necessarily feel it like that until you learn your body, until you are quiet enough and you are detoxed enough to where you can actually take some magnesium or L-theanine and you're like, ah, I'm actually like,
Yeah.
whoa, you know, and that is, it has to be a journey with you in order for them to be quiet enough and to listen and take guidance. You know,
Mhm.
if they're trying to, guide themselves based on not knowing anything and thinking that everything you're going to get a hit from it, you're not going to get a hit from all of these things, and I think it's a certain population or day and age where a lot of people are used to feeling some type of way, instant gratification too,
Yeah.
and so the education piece of what you're talking about is huge. It's so big. So I have some questions, a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them, but I have some specific ones that are so I wanted to deep dive into these questions that I found on your website. So we talked about detox. So your detox protocol focuses on modern toxins. Now, can you share a powerful example of how uncovering hidden toxins change someone's mental, emotional health?
So yeah, think about toxins as a problem. I mean,
And exactly what are toxins?
toxins can be anything that's putting a burden on our body, okay, that's not helping. And now with how many additives, chemicals are in, like you were talking about, industrial things, like, or glyphosate that was sprayed on everything. You can see why these things happen, but then it's like we look at the upside and we don't look at the downside
Yeah.
of these things, especially sometimes if somebody's making money. It's like downside someone else's problem,
Yeah.
and we don't realize how much it becomes our problem.
Yeah.
And I've heard lots of times people say, well, look, why in other countries do they not have these problems? Let's say, food. Oh, the bread I could eat in other
Yeah.
countries.
My fiance is in Italy right now. And
Yeah.
She's like, I feel great.
They feel great,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't allow it. But they take care of the patient, their people, from the time they're born till the time they die in their healthcare system. So I think there's just a lot more focus on what's coming in, and is that going to be a cost to us later?
Yeah.
Right?
Big time.
So I think it's really like simple principles of money, and how, and it's not like I don't think there's anyone like bad, a person out that's trying to like be against people being healthy, but it's just a system that's developed because of incentives.
So embedded, it's hard.
Yeah. So, you have now the same amount of toxins in a month that your grandparents got exposed to over their life. And it's in food, and it's in the air, and it's in water. And now we're seeing all this other sensitivity that, we didn't really see before, like mold, and people are more sensitive. And that's, and even since COVID. And I think that's confusing as well. But when you look at how the body works, so the immune system of the body is like a military. It's really brilliant. And it's there to keep us safe from threats, outside world, really. And sometimes the inside too. So it's always on, it's always on guard and just surveying the scene to see what's there. And there's certain cells in the immune system that just almost like have a list, and they're just checking. Are you on my list? And so scanning through the blood, checking all the time. And if it's something that's not supposed to on there, they will present it to another. They're like tattletale cells. They're called antigen presenting cells. We saw this thing. And then they decide, are we going to make an antibody response to that or not, and attack it, right? So if you get a vaccine, they're giving you a little bit of it so that this process happens, so the body forms antibodies, and you have now have a resistance.
And they're making a decision based on energy, because everything is like, is this worth?
Well, this is like how they're looking at how the immune system works, and they're developing something to make your body do that. For a vaccine, some vaccines you could have for life, some only last like a year, flu, depending on the thing.
If they should make an antibody if a toxin comes in, because you said it tattletales, it's like, hey, something bad's here, and it signals another one. And it's like, well, does it ever come down to energy? It's like, well, is this worth it? Or
yeah, in some ways. So let's just look at it like this. If the body is, if you're like in a scarcity mindset, you are more reactive, a little bit more hesitant, right? It's like think of it like at the airport. If there's high alert, like security risk, everyone gets checked. No one gets by. So the immune system, when it feels like it's not getting what it needs, if the body doesn't feel like it's getting what it needs, let's say sleep is not great, diet's not great, lots of toxins, we're stressed out, then over time, it's okay for a while, supply demand, but over time, they start giving messages, communication.
Mm.
Hey, we don't get enough in to meet the demands of this, so we need to change some systems downstream. So think of it like a company. So like hormones are how the body communicates. So you've got the adrenal hormones, those are kind of the CEO. They trump everything because you need cortisol to live. So if, there's all these pathways where things can turn into different hormones or can turn into cortisol depending on the pull. So if you're draining, I would say cortisol is like the cash you need every day to meet the demands of whatever you're getting exposed to. And DHEA, which is another precursor hormone, is the savings account of that.
Wow.
So I never see somebody, I should never say never, but like I have not so far seen somebody with an autoimmune or something that didn't have very low DHEA. And so they just ran out of resources. When that happens or when it gets down there, the body makes different choices. It goes into an inflammatory state. And now it's like a stressed out mom who the kid comes in and asks for something, she's going to yell and say no, right? But the same thing could be asked in a state of calm and she might say yes. So the body responds differently depending on the environment. Do you see? So like how stressed it feels. So, and it's just trying to keep you alive.
Yeah.
So when it starts feeling like, man, we can't trust anything, this is when you start responding to things like, now mold is getting you and you're having all these symptoms. Your body is that's your immune system attacking everything thinking it's hurting you. So now you aren't balanced. You're like a hypersensitive. And that's a sure sign that for a long time, it hasn't been getting its needs met. So you got to look back at what is putting so much drain on the system.
And it sounds like these toxins are creating so much chaos. And if you think it on energetic state, that seems kind of like static, like very unhealthy energy. And if sounds like kind of like a chaotic situation, if on a cellular level everything is miscommunicating and it's so out of balance due to these toxins. So when
toxins are just one. It's just one of the demands, right?
Yeah, one of
them.
Yeah,
because let's say you get exposed to some toxins, same person, but you have maybe a little genetic defect that doesn't recycle glutathione. That's like your master security antioxidant. And so you're a little bit, down compared to the normal. And then let's say your diet's bad and you're not getting like fresh vegetables or fruit, or you're getting stuff sprayed on. So it's about the load. It's not a specific one. And so then it just is like, oh, this is now putting us into this inflammatory space because we can't clear it.
Wow.
So instead of like the specifics, think about the principles of just how much burden's on the system.
Yeah.
And that could come from our own mind stressing and sending cortisol down. It could come from being exposed to a toxin that's causing that inflammatory process in the body. It can come from, pushing your body too far with exercise and never getting rest.
Yes.
There's all those kind of things. So that's why somebody will say like, should I cold plunge or not? And I'll say, I don't know. Should you? What does it do to you?
Yeah.
Why would you do that and why wouldn't you? So I want them to understand so they can, because that's going to change on a daily basis, right?
Yeah. Wow. So, okay, so you into this detox process, and I think all of them simultaneously.
Yeah. You got to think about what's going on all the time, right?
Yeah, because stress can be such a huge thing. So, you're functional medicine, but also you're actually helping them psychologically, and like, making them recognize that, just from you speaking alone, I would reflect on my own self. I'm like, oh yeah, like I know my body, but I am aware when I am stressed. And fortunately, I can get myself out of it really quickly. But some people don't know what they don't know, and don't know how to get themselves back in alignment. And so, for instance, on the toxin side, on detoxing, let's say someone, whatever, hears this clip or hears it from someone else. How would you detox them from toxins?
Well, just not on a specific regimen, but just general principles. You are making sure you're drinking clean water. Okay, what are our main systems ways of detoxing? Urine, stool, sweat. Okay. The antioxidants from, colored fruits, vegetables, different things help reduce the inflammation in the body and toxins. So you take certain vegetables can bind heavy metals and things like that. So we're constantly managing that as long as it doesn't get out of control. The body can do that. So I think generally at first, make sure you're sweating.
Mm.
Make sure you're having normal bowel movements every day, which is like usually 2, and people don't know what normal is because in med school I was taught anywhere from 1 to 1 a week, 1 a day to 1 a week.
Yeah.
And that's not
One a day,
normal.
okay?
Usually not.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Usually I kind of say 2.
Wow.
I mean, you have like the guts. I love to teach this because, and I remember in med school thinking, I can't believe I've never thought of that. This GI tract of ours is through us, but not in us. Okay, so it's very interesting. Like colon cancer is an external cancer like skin cancer, because if you think about it, the skin just continues through tube, down, intestines, out,
Yeah.
rectum.
Wow, yeah.
Never is inside our body. The body is sterile.
Yeah.
So the name of the game, we got to eat the right thing, right? It's hard enough to know. Digest it, which means break it down, absorb the nutrients, get rid of stuff.
Yeah.
Right? And basically you're eating one of 3 things: a protein, a carb, sugar, or a fat. Right? So that starts immediately, even when you smell a food. It goes to the brain. The brain's like, that's sweet. I'm going to send a saliva message. It's really brilliant.
Wow.
So you are already breaking things down in your saliva. Then you chew it, hopefully. This is why we should.
The moment it smells it, it's
Yeah, you start to know. And then goes into the stomach where there's a lot of acid. And there's a reason for that, because you need, in order to basically prepare proteins for absorption, cleave them, we call it has to be cleaved by, like, you have to be cut them by acid. Also helps to regulate overgrowth of other bacteria. So, one of the most common over-the-counter meds is like Prilosec or Omeprazole, a proton pump inhibitor to reduce acid for reflux, right? But that's okay for short term. Some people are on these forever, let's say, and it causes cognitive decline, bone density loss, protein, right? Nutritional deficiencies, because you can't, everything in the body to recover besides bone, fat, and water needs protein.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of.
And there is this thing too. Okay, so all right, say someone, they listen to this clip, whatever, they're like, man, I take 1 a day. Maybe this guy does.
Yeah.
How does someone kick that into gear of being able to, what can someone eat to get that moving more?
Well, so fiber is one of the most important things, and we don't get enough at all. I think average American gets 8 grams or something. We need 50.
Yeah. Of course, by actual whole food.
Right.
But
right.
Supplements, okay?
Magnesium, for example, one of the best, because most people. Oh yeah, magnesium is a.
I know it's magnesium citrate though, like it's real.
There's
it's
lots.
Real deal.
Yeah, you got oxide, citrate, malate, threonate, glycine.
Yeah.
Right. So depending on the form, will determine how well it's absorbed into the body. So oxide and citrate are less absorbed. So I use those if I want to manage bowel movements better.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's a molecule that's large enough, it pulls water. It's an osmotic polar into the GI tract, right? Because whatever you don't absorb, you lose in the stool. So you can't overdose on mag. You might just have diarrhea.
Yeah.
So you just are pulling this water, but it's a passive, it's a gentle way, right? So everyone's a little different, so you have to kind of like gauge that, and we'll get them on something. But lots of times I do it in mag. Fiber bulks up. Fiber is good. You could take fiber, but if it's best to get it through fruits and vegetables, because the fiber, when we eat whole foods, half of the sugars and things stay in the what am I trying to say? Like the actual food.
Yeah.
And feeds the bacteria so it's kind of like how plants take in our carbon dioxide and give us oxygen. So the bacteria in our gut, they eat the fiber and they produce short chain fatty acids, which are these kind of long signaling molecules that do all sorts of good things for every organ in our body. And we don't have enough. So and then that helps with moving things through, kind of scraping the walls, clearing the stuff off. So when you have a diet that's really a lot of processed or a lot of heavy meat or constipating foods, it's going to be like, more condensed and stuck, and then harder time to move through. And remember, you have a long tube.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to do things on a daily, because like what you do today maybe you won't have the effects of for 2 days.
That's what I say. So it is a daily thing. So okay, so a magnesium supplement based on what they're needing, right?
Yeah.
Because it's interesting, on the topic of magnesium, I heard it's such a, an incredible supplement. So that for actually having this effect of to calm you, actually
Very
beneficial
much
for
so.
sleep, and
Yep.
but then also the benefit of actually helping you move, your stool through you. And now, is this something that people, it's recommended every day? A supplement would be huge, like magnesium every day.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I think 70% of the country or something is deficient. So I think we're not getting it.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of facing stuff with our soil because when fruits and vegetables grow, they get their nutrients from the soil.
Mm.
It's not actually in the tomato plant. It's in the soil that they're getting. So that's why you go to other countries, you can taste the food tastes so different.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so with that though, because it comes from the soil, but how many times have we grown fruits and vegetables from that same soil? So over time, what I was told is that the lack of nutrients over, years and years and years, our soil doesn't have as much nutrients anymore.
Yeah, we don't.
Is that a truth?
Oh my gosh, and we can dive deep on that,
Yeah.
but I think, if we really started looking at that, we'd be all scared.
Yeah.
Because I think I heard a stat that said, take an orange from the same orchard. We're not even talking about organic or not organic, doesn't matter. Like back in the 50s to now, you'd have to eat 9 to equal the nutrients in 1 back then.
Wow.
So that's a big shift. And now it has a lot more toxins with it. So now you can see, even supplements, this is why I'm not huge on a lot, because there is nothing much left clean in this world. And they source from the same places.
Yeah.
And so there's always a cost. So every food we put in, we really want it to be as nourishing as possible.
Yeah.
Because just food digestion is kind of an ask of the body, right?
Yeah.
And so, just understanding what are we asking and what are we needing.
Yeah.
And it's something that we don't, think about in terms, and I think our culture is also like, make this feeling go away.
Yeah.
Instead of looking at it as, oh, this is a great feedback for me to know daily what to do.
Yeah, it's like, make this feeling go away, and I'm going to take a thing or distract myself in some way or numb it by whatever, substances or food, whatever it may be. There's a whole bunch of different ways to numb it. But instead of asking, like, oh, that's a signal right there. Like, let me look at that. Let me feel, I think that was a big thing why I stopped energy drinks. That was like a thing that I had to stop because I felt it in my body. And I was like, where's this feeling come from? And I would move away from energy drinks. My gut felt better. And I also just felt like my nervous system just felt so much better. I felt like I'd get inflammation. And I knew it was really bad for your gut. But, yeah, the feedback, the signals is critical, I feel, too. Is like just what you're saying. It's like, how do I not suppress this, and how do I look at this and deal with it?
And that's really, I mean, you've probably seen my logo has a brain on it.
Yeah.
Because, I kept thinking, like, really root cause is here. How we think, right?
Yeah.
And I found out, I remember back when I first, maybe in 2017 or so, I went to Hoffman Institute. It's a place in the Bay Area.
Yep.
It's been around for a long time. And it really looks at your patterns and belief systems. And it was like really an intensive week. You're off the grid. You don't keep your phone. It starts early. You go till 10. You have days of silence in between. But you really work through where you got your patterns, who you got them from, your parent, what primary caregiver. Did you adopt it or are you rejecting it? In what way? And so you start having more awareness of yourself. And I thought, and it really gets down to coming to where the shame is that we all have and our constant need to keep it covered.
Yeah.
And so when I got back from that, I thought, wow, that really started incorporating those things more in my practice because I remember someone there said to me, well, I know functional medicine's so broad. If you had to just start with one thing, what would you do? And I'm always like thinking about a scalable idea, and I'm like, it's hard to scale, right? And, but I thought, man, if I had to pick one thing, I'd pick stress because stress affects everything, affects the gut, affects hormones, affects the inflammation, everything. And it's our stress, right? So eustress is like good stress, Latin for good. It's like a new job, becoming a parent, maybe getting married, starting school. It's a stressful time.
Yeah.
But you get something positive out of it, like
Yeah.
more resilient, or right?
Yeah.
More capable, more self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
Distress, you get nothing good from, but it's really a perceived lack of control.
Mm.
And so for people just to understand what's driving things here, and then the lack of control is really attached to a fear,
Mm-hmm.
that's attached to a belief system,
Mm-hmm.
that is attached to our worth.
Mm.
Okay, and so I would have this conversation because it's important to open their mind to a different way of looking at life.
Mm.
If we're going to change, because I would see people come through maybe and had gone to other functional medicine doctors, and they had, overgrowth of gut or whatever, and they got on protocols and they did that and then got better. And then, well, the same thing that's driving it, it's like addiction. I remember my daughter was alcoholic. And then she said to me, alcohol's not my problem, it's my solution. Right? So it's like her real root cause was shame. So it's, you got to figure out what that is and kind of turn the lights onto it and make it not so powerful.
Wow, so that's really correlates with functional medicine then, because the reason.
Well, the way I do it, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. Not everyone does.
I don't know, because I've been speaking with more functional medicine doctors, practitioners more often. I don't know. I've just been attracted to it because, like you said, in order to adopt functional medicine as a way of life, I feel, based on what you're talking about, and it has these principles, but you have to really change. It really starts with your mind, this whole perspective on everything. You are looking at things so differently with what am I asking, what am I demanding in my body, and how am I, you said it really perfectly. What was it? You said something.
Like, what are you giving it to do the job, and what jobs are you asking it to do?
Yeah, what are you giving it, and what are you asking it to do? If you're, and I think the thing that's really cool about it is you get to really know your body, and it is this whole perspective shift, and it is so much more awareness. And I think what I found is when it's almost like waking up in a way.
Yes.
Based on how we're talking about this.
I say that all the time.
It is. It's like, oh my gosh, I have been,
You're not a robot.
Yeah, you're not a robot, and these things affect you, and this is why. And it is, once you see it, you can't unsee it, right? I mean, you can maybe fall off into the matrix again and years of eating and moving and thinking a certain way again, but I think that's why it's, for when I speak with you, you have a spiritual undertone, of when the way that you talk about it. And I think, and this psychological undertone as well, along with the medicine side. And I think combining that is extremely healthy, and I think that's it's really, yeah, it's nice and it's fresh. It's really, really cool to hear. Now,
well, and just to quick on that, and it's because we have an emotional self, a spiritual, not religious, but spiritual. How are we part of this earth and this world, and why are we here? A physical and intellectual. Those are sides of us, and we need them balanced. And most of the time, when you're not in balance, things go wrong. And so those need to all be addressed to really truly have health. And so that's, I talk a lot about that.
Yeah, I think, okay, so by addressing them, so I think the solution on some of these things which I think would be really important is, if you could focus on one thing, Cambria would focus on stress, right? And I would be like, yes, I think so too, because it's huge out here, and it's a day and age where it's a hustle mentality, it is a instant gratification, it is a certain day and age where it's just everything is quick and no patience and everything's moving really quickly, and we want to feel a certain way and whatever. That if you were to focus, if your main thing would be focusing on stress, then what would you suggest to people to get rid of stress? How would you first initially attack stress?
So, yeah, and I think now I would say my approach would be understand your brain. Right. And because that's going to be the best way to attach, because people are like, well, how could I get rid of stress? That's great. I'm going to die. But it's about changing a perception of things. So when I love this here in Newport, the Brain Treatment Center and Wave Neuro, they work together, and they are doing TMS, so transmagnetic stimulation for concussion, different things like that. I first was exposed to them back in like 2017. And they had, this really cool QEEG that showed how the front, middle, and back of your brain worked. And it was a really cool objective, way to look at things, which I hadn't seen before. Because you see fMRI and EEG that you just have the squiggles and you don't know.
Yeah. It's like a brain mapping?
Yeah, kind of. There's brain mapping too, but this, if I showed you, it's like how the front, middle, and back are actually, so it's showing a delta, theta, so delta activity, theta, alpha, beta, right? And if it's all firing together. So I was...
And each one correlates with something with you, like you're out of alignment with that too.
Right, like you could look at that and I could say, oh, that's likely thyroid or hormone or something. I know that there's something going on, or a B12 or MTHFR mutation sometimes. But what I love the most about it is that I have a chance to talk to people about their brain and how it thinks, because the brains are different types of brains, like 3 main. And so I could sit down and say, I bet you do this. I bet you overanalyze, you da-da-da-da. I bet it's hard to turn your brain off. You can't stay in the present moment. You jump from past to future, anxiety, depression. You probably are stubborn. You could be a little impatient. You get bored easily, and they're like, how do you know that? And so then it helps me have a conversation to say, okay, who are you? Are you your thoughts and your feelings? And they're kind of like, I think. And I'm like, you're not. You're not. You're your choices. So if you can get someone to start looking at who they are differently, in a way, you're going to change everything about their health. And that's the most efficient way, and I like efficiency. So it's going to be so much more meaningful, because that's why I think plant medicine is really able to do that. Now, I think we've talked a lot about need for integration, and I think it's huge. But what it does is gives an opportunity, just like this brain mapping I do, to realize that you're not your thoughts and your feelings. You're beyond, and you have control. You can take control of the wheel, kind of your car. And certain brains can really be hard to live with. My daughter's, for one. So when she learned that, she lost a lot of shame, because a lot of her shame was tied into how she thought, and these thoughts of shame, and she's not good enough and worthy and deserving, which is how she's interpreted events that have happened in her life.
So now with that, how would you adjust that? Someone says, oh my gosh, like I think like this about myself all the time, and I feel this type of way, and this lack or this whatever, this, self-loathing or whatever it is, victim or whatever. You're like, yeah, that's okay. But how would you suggest someone change that?
Yeah, so I'll say, okay, so really look at everything we do. Either we act out of love or fear. Okay? So let's just keep those two. If you're acting out of a fear, you may not think it's fear up front. You're just pissed.
Yeah.
You're offended, whatever. You want to get back. But underneath there somewhere, there is the reactions happening because you have a belief, whoever's having the feeling, that it might be true. And so you're defending, yourself so that your worthiness is not compromised.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So like if you think about, what am I afraid of? What do I believe? And what makes me worthy, deserving, good enough, or lovable? What do I believe I need to be those things? And where did I get that belief? And then you start saying, like, your subconscious mind is like a little AI from the day you're born. You're watching, you're seeing, and it's storing information. Different brains store different information differently, right? Processing. This is like no different than, we don't really spend a lot of time criticizing like our eye color, but we do our brains, but it's a processing, just like, system, like a software. And so it's not different than a body that's doing things. So to help people realize that, I think they can shift and kind of delaminate a little bit, and then realize they can take charge in a different way, and they can wake up and be actually much more engaged in being deliberate about their choices instead of reactive. And because you can look, and I'm sure you've realized this, we can always look out in our environment and find reasons to validate what we feel. It's real to us, right?
Or find
it's right
someone to do it for you.
Yeah, but the opposite's true as well. And so, you're either operating from a place of love or fear at some degree, And I think this can shift too. You know, you get over busy, you get imbalanced, you're going to have a chance, you're going to be more susceptible to operate from being triggered.
Yeah.
Okay, a triggered state. And those are all things that have happened in our brain. You know, cortisol, that stress hormone, goes right to the hippocampus, right through the blood-brain barrier, where memory is, which is interesting because lots of things get stopped, even other, you know, adrenaline and things. But it happens so that you remember the stressful moment.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So like in the future, it's like for evolution,
Let's
don't
say
forget.
evolution, yeah.
So even before you may see something that consciously you're not even thinking of yet, it already gets triggered in your mind. Your body already releases a chemical and you can feel whatever way before you even know it. That's how robotic we are until we wake up.
I mean, you can see that if that was from back in the day, if we lived in you know, a certain way and we'd walk through a certain area, we would probably, you know, look out for danger.
Right.
Maybe it was programmed from that.
Yeah, it's always trying to help us.
Yeah, it's always trying to help us. Wow, that is fascinating. Okay, so, well, let me check this thing real quick. Oh, that shot looks great. Okay.
Okay.
So, now a big thing right now. So, I want to talk on. Okay, so you mentioned addiction. So, how can functional medicine support addiction recovery on a biological level, like dopamine, cortisol, inflammation, gut repair, cravings, sleep, emotional regulation? So, how can functional medicine support addiction recovery?
In a lot of ways. So there's a great book, I think I showed it to you, Nutritional Medicine or something. But, you know, so many, especially with these little genetic variations, okay? They're called SNPs, and there's some that are really common. We know that we need dopamine, right, to be happy, motivated, and serotonin to be calm, social. And so lots of times people have little genetic variations in that, they'll never know. So they are still making those things, but in much less amounts than somebody else. And there's precursors for those. And they're always amino acids like tryptophan, tryptophan for serotonin, tyrosine, dopamine. So if you knew you had those, and I could tell in lots of different ways now, but you can at least help that, make more on this end. Because drugs are really aimed over here at breaking down the, stopping the breakdown of a certain neurotransmitter to keep more in the synapse. So it's what's active there. So like a serotonin reuptake inhibitor will go and plug the hole so that the serotonin is not taken out of the circulation to hold more there. But it doesn't do anything on production. But you can, you know, things like SAMe people take, or 5-HTP. These are ways to increase production of serotonin. So there's those kind of ways.
Yeah.
We know exercise is huge for mental health, right? In ways that we can't even understand. And that we know that the gut microbiome has more serotonin receptors in the brain.
Yeah, like 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how we eat is going to affect hugely how our mood.
Yeah.
It also affects, you know, kind of our level of.
Okay, wait, hold on. Back up into that.
Yeah,
That's critical. So I just talked with a guy, an alumni of mine, and I haven't seen him in 300 some days or whatever. And he is, you know, still eating a certain way. And it really brought this up for me too, is that it's 90% of your, so serotonin makes you feel good, right?
Yep.
And so, okay, so if 90% of your serotonin is in your gut,
made in your gut, then everything you eat will affect how you feel. Yeah, so
right?
it's going to be about the bacteria and the relationship with the bacteria. So like we look at a lot of lines of, there's lots of bacteria, right? In the gut, we're a lot more bacteria than we are human, I think.
Yeah.
So
is there correlation with depression?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, because if you're constantly feeding it these things that are making you feel a certain way.
Yep.
And you again,
inflamed, sugar, all that.
And you're just feeling depressed or whatever comes from that.
I have to make people feel good because, like you said, people don't change behavior it's not a personal thing.
Yeah.
We don't change behavior because of information. Pain or pleasure.
Motivators.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So better understand the beast and then like come up with a system that will work, right?
Yeah.
So and people have to want it, right? Like I always say, I had a great therapist once that said, I don't help people who need my help, only those who want my help.
Yeah.
And he would like record the session, and then he'd come back the next week and ask if they recorded it. If 2 times went by and they hadn't listened to it, he'd be like, I think you need my help, but you don't want it. And that would be it.
I just did that with a client.
You did?
Yeah, Monday.
It's brilliant, I think.
Yeah. I mean, also another one that I was 2 in the last week that I gave them things to do. I wanted you to do this, and it's been 2 weeks that you did not put the effort in, and that was going to show me. It was a signal for me showing that you really want to do this. Didn't do it, and I was like, you know what, man, I don't think this is the right time, but when you really want to get after it and take this seriously, then we can do it. But
I think, instead of getting mad, you just say, I'm here when you need it. It's kind of like what times I've had to get with my daughter, Rachel.
Yeah.
And just say, I shouldn't have said her name, but if you want to drink, that's your choice.
Yeah.
But when you're ready to stop, you come back into my life.
Yeah, but she's so open. So she said she wants to do a podcast. So she'd be
amazing.
I know. I bet
she's
she
like
would.
a nuclear. You should see her brain. She's nuclear. So, and she'll blow things up, or she'll blow things up in a good way or a bad way, depending on what she's focused on.
Wherever she points it. And she's an amazing artist.
She's an amazing artist.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I saw like the sketches on her Instagram and stuff. Okay, so now food affecting. Okay, so an addiction. Okay, so for instance, I want to bring functional medicine into Epic Journey Wellness, all virtual, right? Or Pacific Shore Recovery. And this is for people that struggle with addiction and mental health, right? Addiction being we have a thought which triggers an emotion, which triggers this reaction. And so until we get them to be able to deal with their emotions and react in a healthy manner instead of just numbing and whatever, running from it, it's a time. They're so programmed. It is such like a computer software, right? So now me bringing Cambria in on this journey, which I'm so happy that we met. It's super cool. It's so cool. It's kind of wild. What would you bring into the behavioral health industry? Because I do not see functional medicine in the behavioral health space enough. And everything that you're talking on is so beneficial. And so, like, this is what I see. And then I'll ask you the question. But that, I am pro medication. But I'm more so pro putting in the work first. And so now I've seen multiple clients they come into treatment, I'm depressed, I'm feeling this type of way. Yeah, man, you just got your butt kicked for years out there. Of course you're not coming in with some wins.
You're right.
So, but they're quick to get on an antidepressant, which you end up being on for a very long time. And it's actually challenging to come off a lot of those. And so, but I am more so pro putting in the work first. And functional medicine sounds like pro putting in the work first in this awakening. That blends well.
I think some functional medicine doctors are like completely against everything. They wouldn't give a statin to anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not an extreme in any way.
Yeah.
I'm not extreme about diet. I'm not extreme about meds. I really look at what is the upside downside of the person in front of me.
Totally.
And that's going to be what is going to make them the best chance of being successful and happy.
Yeah.
Because the minute you say like, oh, you shouldn't be on, then they feel shame.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing you want.
Yep.
I just want them to be curious and to be empowered. And I think
and educated.
Yeah. So that's why, this is why I think the most important thing I could do is do this part, because people aren't doing it. Everyone out there is doing peptides, right? Do I do peptides? Sure. And they're really helpful. And I do IV ozone, and I'll do lots of these things that people come to me for. But I think what they get from me that's the most value is they look at their life different.
Yes.
And because of marketing and because of how things are going, people being sick, not getting better, the market's going to be flooded with plenty of options for people. Right now we have like people that can go right to B2C, business to consumer for testing, for specialty testing. Even like Quest now is like you can get online and do it. So as that competition, everything's going into a capitalistic.
Everyone's like, I got this.
Everyone's going into that, right? Like hardly any vitamin companies now go through physicians. I think there's like one. They are going to be on Amazon. They have their own store because it's just the competition's so intense. I think the most important thing for people is to know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
And you can't navigate it without understanding basic principles. But like what have we been, like just in a couple hours, I could pretty much tell you everything you need to navigate 90% of it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So now you being open-minded, I just had his name is Sam Mandel. He owns ketamine clinics out in LA. And so he came down and we interviewed. It was super cool. Now you said, similar as mine. I am very just open And I think it's just educating people and just letting them be aware and make their own choices. But if something's going to make you feel well and have you have this awakening moment and have you just have a great experience, I'm totally pro that, right? Uh, Now on this topic, you mentioned plant medicine, which is a topic that comes up a lot around me, probably because I'm a huge advocate for it in a way. Everyone's different, but in a way, I think it's really
Overall,
amazing. Yeah,
it's
overall.
very, very positive. Yeah.
So okay, so with
If done right, right?
yeah, so okay, so what is your thoughts around plant medicine, and does that play a role in functional medicine at all? Is that
It comes up a lot.
yeah? Does it?
Oh, yeah. Like my patients, I think you could tell, like, we go right in. So
Yeah.
they tell me, we talk about things, they feel like they could ask me everything,
Yeah.
anything. I want them to feel that way. And they'll, because there's so much out in the media about it, and a lot of them know me and know I've had 2 children that have done Ibogaine. I mean, that's about as big as it gets in the plant medicine world.
Yeah.
And so I think I've had personal experience with some plant medicines that have been amazingly like beneficial for me and how I changed my perception of things, made me more compassionate, loving to myself and to other people. I think, so yes, I think that these things are going to be really important, but just like everything, they have to be taken seriously, have integration like we talked about, because I could go into something, right? It's kind of like the same balance thing, or just knowing where you are. If the body, the same thing, this is why I think it's more important to understand and be thinking a certain way and understanding, because let's say you drink a couple cocktails or whatever, and you can't say good or bad. It really is the environment that's coming in. And we're not talking like, I'm not going to go to extremes on those kind of things, but in general, that your perception of your experience is going to have a huge effect on the rest of your body that's communicating. So if somebody has read a lot in the past and they've already have a foundation of beliefs and really curious and have been on a journey for a while, and they go and maybe do, plant medicine, usually those things meet you kind of where you're at, but it might blow open their mind a little bit more than they are ready. And integration is going to be very important to not feel like they're free falling a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And so I think I've lost a friend to going to Costa Rica and trying to find himself after, divorce and later in life, and hung himself. So I think it can be destabilizing. One reason looking at brains, I see some brains that would be more sensitive than others. They're more stable. So sometimes I wonder if we should be screening.
Yeah.
I know Tom and Talia well at Beyond. That's where my girls went, and talked to them about this. They'd love to have functional medicine involved. We were trying to do that a couple years ago, but being in Mexico was just too hard for me.
Yeah.
And I was running the program at the time. But yeah, I think for addiction, it's about understanding why you're addicted, why you're having to go to this to survive, right? And lots of times it's because, it's how your brain is filtering and your belief systems.
Yeah.
Lots of times, right? Or you're needing the dopamine, you're feeling bad. It's not like people go to drugs because they're like feeling great.
Do you believe addiction is a disease?
I think it's...
Because you hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Like the disease
I guess
of
what's the
addiction.
criteria for disease?
Because I always challenge people with it. So if I went to an island, right, and I had no insulin and I just had cake, press me going to diabetic ketoacidosis, and the addict who likes heroin would probably still be alive. So, or a cancer patient. So if I look at a disease, and so I like to challenge a disease of the mind. And I think wanted to get your opinion
I
on
think
that.
that it's just
Another environment.
a way, we're not seeing something clearly, maybe.
Yeah.
And we're stuck in a perception that makes us think everything we see is real right here, and that's why we're making choices.
Yeah.
And if you could shift that, because I don't believe that, taking out like things like big diseases, obviously, that we're kind of cross the Rubicon there, but like for the most part, what we deal with in chronic disease, right?
Yeah.
You can change, let's say we never looked at your genetics or anything, and you were growing your food, and you prepared your soil, and we got back to how we were going, you were exercising, I think people would be fine.
Yeah.
I think they'd be fine. And with a really healthy way to examine our belief systems every day. I mean, I remember, I think I may have told you this, that Rachel, she's smart and she's like toxic. Like she said to me once, she's my oldest.
Okay.
And I said something about, I can't really be happy unless you're not happy.
Mm.
And she's like, well, then why is your happiness my responsibility?
Mm.
And, at first I was like, why are you being a brat? You know what I mean? I care about you,
Yeah.
right? And it was like, I've heard my grandmother say, oh, you're only as happy as your saddest child. And my mom, and you know what I mean? So you're like, that's a belief system that I just adopted,
Yeah.
never even looking to say, is that healthy, helpful? Because is my happiness her responsibility? No. Mm-mm. That's fundamentally goes against everything I believe. But I'm saying it. So you start realizing how paradoxical you are in things. And the more every day is a chance. Now I'm like excited if I get triggered or something because I'm like, whoa, what's there? What is there? What's really bugging me?
Yeah.
And I don't feel that shame as much. And I think it's the more we do that, the happier life gets on everything.
Yeah, because I think that's the side from, you being a parent on the other side of it. And I think, families on the other side of someone that struggled with that, like, where did I go wrong? What did I do?
Oh, and I have plenty of reasons.
Yeah, and it's and for so long, parents and moms and dads, whatever, are on the other side of someone continuing to struggle, and you can only do so much, and I think that is a certain point in your life, like, well, look, I can only do so much, but all I can truly do as this parent or sibling, whatever it is to go out and live as healthy as possible and to be an example, and that will hopefully inspire, and to continuously love, but boundaries I think are extremely healthy, and I have a lot of families that it's my baby, I'm gonna pay his rent, I'm gonna do whatever, I can't let him go homeless, I know that it's really hard for families on there, because my brother overdosed on fentanyl. He passed away in 2019, and before that, my dad hung himself. Like my first year of sobriety, my dad hung himself.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Your first year of sobriety.
Yeah, I got sober to 4/4/14, 4/4/4,
Wow.
Yeah, my dad, hung himself December 1st. And it was heavy. My brother, but what happened is that my brother kept trying. He's like, dude, look, man, I'm 2 years sober. He got sober a couple years before me, and I was still out using. And he was like, he'd call me P. Hey, P, whenever you're ready, like, I'll get you set up in a treatment center. He started working in one. And I'm like, oh, I'm not ready yet. Sure enough, Instagram was around, and I see my brother out in Lake Havasu on the boat. He had pretty girls around. He was all tan and fit, smiling, had a little bit of money to go and play, which finding $20 for me at the time was super tough. I had nothing. But he was being the example, and he
showing you the possibility.
Yes, and he's like, man, I can only do so much. You don't want help, man. But I'm going to show you how great it is, And he started just embodying health and everything. And he called me one day. I was like, yeah, dude, I am done. I've been seeing you. That's what I want. And then I made this shift, But then, my dad hung himself the first year. I didn't even have a year of sobriety. That happened. That was super. It was heavy, And
oh my gosh.
And then my brother were super, super close. Started a business together and did everything together. But he was struggling, and I can only do so much. And I started to just go even further, and what is Preston capable of doing, and how much better and healthier can I get to hopefully he can see this. And it just, he can only do so much. So
letting go is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, and I think a lot of my path in spirituality has come from trying to understand why.
Yeah.
Why, and come to because you have to face, when you have a child that's really there, and to let go, you face them dying. That's your biggest fear. And for a long time I couldn't even say it. Like, it would just flood me with cortisol, and like I would just feel sick because you just are like, that can't happen, right?
Nope.
And it's your fear, right? And so I just needed to understand, why are we here? How do we what's the point? Why do we get bodies? What's different about a body? Oh, well, you have experiences. That is different than reading and knowing. You learn wisdom. Like, what makes sense to me? And like finding a way to find answers. And then I would read and it would click and I'd be like, okay, I'm on the right path. Like, this is it. And putting these things together. Even though I grew up in a religious family, but way beyond that. Right?
Yeah.
Like, who is Rachel to me? She's my daughter, but like, she's her person. And how is this relationship holding her back because of these beliefs and the entwinement that happens, right?
Yeah.
And how does she become the best version of herself? I have to back out.
Allow
her, right? And you know, you start seeing that and it's so scary to back out. And it takes
you know the real world and the things. Is that
yeah.
what you're like, huh?
Yeah, and you have to know, you know, John Jolliffe, he was a therapist here and he was amazing.
Here?
Newport Beach. He was amazing. And he passed away just a year or so ago, but I was lucky enough to know him and have these conversations. And he came along, like, just kind of like how things happen.
Yeah.
Right as I was thinking about what I do about my daughter on going to Beyond. I knew we were at a spot where it was either let her die or I do something. And so becomes a thing. You know,
Were you resistant about her going towards on this?
Beyond wasn't even an option. Okay.
Oh, to you?
Well, she didn't even know about it. So she had.
But did you introduce it to her?
I brought it to her through somebody I knew that knew a lot about it because she was living at her dad's. He's an alcoholic. And I was busy running the program. And I would call my other daughter who lived there and was like, hey, proof of life. When have you seen Rachel left? I don't know, a couple days. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Go in there and look. I need a picture of her, right? And so her dad just like lets alcohol come in. He's really passive. And so I look and I'm like, I've seen her, you know, before. And I know Rachel can get to a point where she could drink a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and so I just thought, do I, you know, Al-Anon, I've gone through all that. Do I just say her life, walk away? But I really felt like she's going to die. And I was really like, she's not going to come out of this. Her husband had just been killed on a motorcycle day before her birthday. Everything just fell apart. Her whole world dropped out from her.
Yeah.
And I called my friend Ben, a good friend of mine, and I said, I don't know what to do. And he's like, well, I think Ibogaine could help. Let me call around. So he called someone down in Mexico who worked with the vets, who I know really well now, Martin Polanco, but I didn't know him at the time, and then Talia and Tom at Beyond. And then he talked to Rachel and said, would this be so? I got her over to my house and got her sober enough to have a conversation with her. And then she was like, okay, I'll go. And then we got her there. But before that, I was talking to him about it. And he said, Cambria, you need to do everything you can right now to save her and give her a chance. And I don't think you've ever done that because you just have gone in and triaged when things gotten bad and then you're back to work. And like, basically I needed to do it for me.
Yeah.
And he said, I'd take a medical leave. She's your 100% priority. And I don't think if he wasn't there, I wouldn't have done that because I would have felt guilty. Like, oh, I need to make sure I don't let the hospital down. And it's like, no, he's like, this is her. And then he said to me, but you got to know that there will be an expiration date. You don't have to tell her that, but you have to know that because then you're going to give her a chance and it's on her. It's up to her. You do everything right now and then you give her a chance. And he's right. I've thought about him a lot because it's so hard. You could get pulled back in. I mean, you know, right? Yeah. Like, I just want her to be well. So I find myself wanting, which is when I know I'm unbalanced, when I'm wanting. Yeah. It's not right. Yeah. And so just understanding why we're here, why this happens, what's our lesson to learn. I have to go to a higher perspective in order to stay in a spot where I can function well.
How do you feel that experience for her helped her? Because I was talking with this guy, Sam, the other day, last Friday, and behavioral health and treatment has been the same for a very, very long time. And these types of things, and I'm seeing more and more of it. I know a person that started one out in Costa Rica where this is a part of the curriculum. You know, it's set up correctly. And then I can, with my experience, I definitely know the stages of when it should be and who it's before. And I think, if it's set up appropriately, it's it could be incredible. But how did you feel? Like, did you feel like that it made a shift in her going through
Oh,
anything like
huge.
that?
So I remember the
I
day.
know she mentioned something on her first call that
Yeah,
she
you got to
just,
interview her because she's done it twice and it's very different each time.
yeah, she sent me her whole book, her whole
Oh
PDF,
yeah.
everything, yeah,
She's
integration.
yeah.
She got all fired up.
She'll be powerful. I just need to
Yeah,
let her get away enough so she realizes it's her power,
yeah,
not mine.
yeah.
Right.
I'm
But
excited to chat with her because I think maybe
she's way
we'll get all
stronger. She's
amped
way
up.
more powerful than me. She just hasn't realized it.
She hasn't tapped in.
Yeah.
Wow,
I know she will be.
wow.
I couldn't have done what she's done by her age. No way. I was like so naive by anyway, but she said you don't talk to him to the day after, but I talked to Talia because we were talking about some work, like
Because they're so
business
raw.
stuff. Yeah. And she said, "Oh, she had a really powerful experience. You're part of it. I'm excited for her to talk to you."
Mm,
So she said to me that a couple things. It's a long journey. And I was getting updates on WhatsApp from the doctor, but I thought she was going in the next day. And it was like, I was back here. I flew her to Cancun, flew home, work. My mom, we had a big storm. My mom needed me to go with her to Palm Springs house to check on things. So I was like, going out here, come back, run the program. And then I went back to get her. But
wow.
we're in at Palm Springs. And all of a sudden I got this update saying, Rachel's going in now. Her vitals are good. And I was like, now? I thought it was tomorrow. So I said to my mom, I just need like 10 minutes. I'll be out in 10 minutes. So I went in this room by myself and I just tried to like bring her in my heart and mind and talk to her like
Yeah.
she was in front of me and tell her like how I feel about her and what I see, you know, potential wise. And it was like specific. It was like words. It wasn't just like, it was very specific. And she said to me when she came out, she goes, Mom, there was this time at the beginning I was so scared. Like these dark faces and stuff were coming at me and I was so scared and they were laughing at me and, you know, and then I felt my hand squeeze and I looked and you were right sitting next to me and you had your white coat on and I thought, oh my gosh, she's figured out how to be here and she's come and they let her be here. And she said, and you said to me, and she told me.
The specific words. How was it at the same time that you said that? You think by chance?
I mean, I think it's close enough, yeah, because he said she's going in. And I just thought, I think that was one of the most powerful things for me to realize that when we focus our heart and mind, we do spread any distance. We can manifest things. We can reach things. There's so much more going on in this field than we
Quantum entanglement?
understand. Yes, and how powerful we are. And then, you know, she said I had to take off my eye mask and you weren't there. Like I was so sure you were there. So it's interesting. She also said the next day she looked in the mirror and she felt happy and she loved herself. And she said, I don't remember feeling like this since I was like a young girl. And I think the thing about Ibogaine, when you look at it, it shifts the brain in a way. You get this 3-month window of sobriety for one thing, and of retraining your brain, neuroplasticity. And so that's why she's so passionate about it, because that's why she wants to do integration. So, because what happens, I think a lot of times, people feel great and they're like, we're good. She did that the first time.
Fall back into the same pattern.
Kind of ego, you know, I'm good. I don't need that.
Got to figure it out.
3 months hits, boom, you know, back in. So it's really important this, you know, time you have a moment of a gap.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's not every second, you know, tormenting you. And you have a chance to retrain some things. And I think Ibogaine does that in a way that's different than some of the other medicines do.
Yeah, the psilocybin, same. I mean, it's very, very similar. I think based on everyone I've spoken to that understands on the neurological side. But based on my own experiences, you know, of having multiple.
So powerful.
Oh my gosh.
So many people I know have gotten off of SSRIs and microdose and been
I just got another
happy.
guy, 15 years. He's on antidepressants.
Yep.
A client of mine, and the family was very skeptical. Very high level, very powerful family. And they're like, yeah, okay, Preston. I was like, hey, hold on. I don't know. Let me give if he fully commits to this, I guarantee it'll be a change. But it's not going to be on. It's just going to be on how much effort is he really going to do, and how long will he sustain that. Now, the thing that I found is you're a product of the 5 people you're around, or you're a product of your environment. And so you're a product of your thoughts. Now, your thoughts being the environment of your mind, right? And so what I've seen when people go through any experiences, when I work with one-on-one with people, it doesn't matter if it's some high-level individual or someone coming out of prison, whatever it is, is that there is a moment that any experience is an experience and that is new. And so if I can connect with someone and make you, I know I know I'm gonna bring you into an experience, and I know you're going to feel some type of way, and you're going to remember that moment. That I'm gonna make you feel life again.
Yeah,
And
like what you do
yes,
with taking him
yeah,
skydiving,
yes,
right?
or
Experience.
surfing or snorkeling
Right.
or a genuine hug or a
Mhm.
connection,
Mhm.
like sitting down and connecting.
Yep.
And not on my phone, I'm actually intentionally doing these things. Or also, I will intentionally trigger you. Like I learned this
Yeah.
years ago, is where yogis would take their students and they would intentionally do something to trigger them, and they would come back and reflect and like, well, you reacted, and I think after so much time and experience, no matter what the experience is when someone's on this awakening moment, that it is so important to have someone there with you. When you're doing this alone
Mhm.
on your own journey, yes, there's a time for you to be alone, I feel, for you to be introspective and to think and to do all this, but to have someone on your wavelength doing something with you that is really powerful as well or committed to you, I found to be so important. So, if someone comes into treatment or is on a new health journey or career adventure or business venture or a plant medicine experience, I found after these, when they're coming into this new, no matter what age, that having a community or some people around to embody what you are trying to do is so, so important. And so people go off into these certain experiences, ibogaine, plant medicine, ayahuasca out in Costa Rica, or wherever they go, and they come back and they fall into the same patterns, the
Mhm.
thought patterns and the feelings and the food and the friends and the chaos and whatever it is, and they just get right back into it because what keeps you consistent? A practice. Just like functional medicine is a practice. How do I center a practice around this thing to stay consistent?
Yeah, and even talking about that. So let's say I was thinking about that where you're talking. If they understood why that happens.
Why?
Why is it that they go back? Why exactly? Like, yeah, it's you need to practice it, but what is it about the practice that makes it different? What is it about being with people? Because it's actually energy.
Yeah.
So when you're eating better, your whole system is different.
Holistic.
Your whole system. If you're lighter and healthier, your whole body, every cell is on a different frequency. When you're with people, we know right away, right? People who come in and you feel
Yeah.
power versus force. David
Yeah.
Hawkins, with every force, there's a counter force. So you feel with people the energy. I mean, so much of it we don't talk about, but we do feel it. When there's positivity, when it's true, authentic, wanting to help, it raises you up. When you're in a higher vibration, it's much easier. So when you're in plant medicine, you're a high vibration.
Yeah.
But then you come into a negative environment, a home where whatever. You come into low density food, low density thought patterns, low density this, very low density, right? Like you look at the chakras of the body, those set points very much correspond to levels of vibrational energy.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
The low density third world, grounding chakra, sacral chakra, solar plex, kind of the in between, I think, where we come and go. And then heart, fifth dimension, motion, speaking authentically.
Yeah.
Mind, seeing it clearly. So you stay up here, the chance of you being in low frequency is going to be low. But it's much easier. It's going to be much easier. So, but if you go back into dark or go back into low, it's harder, much harder. So it's just like, is it like going and one time going to take you down, but you got to understand why. And so it's just like as not looking at, let's go back to functional medicine, right? Like on these 5 things. If you've been traveling a lot and you haven't gotten sleep and you've been eating out all the time and you're stressed, probably shouldn't drink.
Yes.
Can you drink other times? Probably yes, fine, but you have to choose how much can I tolerate right now? How much can my system handle to not drop too low so that I, put boundaries on myself so I know where to stay good. So I think
Because understanding, you're talking about alcohol.
I'm talking about like anything, not looking at it as a specific, but just, right? Understanding like, why does it matter being in those things, like you're saying, keep people more, those are the things that give them more sobriety.
Yeah, energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like all those things equate to a higher vibrational energy.
Yeah.
And so understanding, if you understand that's it, then people can be like, okay, I'm not so scared that I have to be so, you know, it's like people who won't eat an M&M because of the coloring on the thing. It's like, okay, you're now scared extreme. Or somebody who's like, and we have to have flux, right? It's like heart rate variability. You got to be able to not be so extreme in anything, that you understand the principles so that you can understand and kind of cruise through. I think it gives you have a lot less anxiety. And there's not shame on like, oh, I messed up once. It's like, where are you? What do you need to be successful and happy? And what do you know about, for me, I know sleep is like my kryptonite.
Number one.
I have to have a certain amount of sleep. Otherwise I kind of, I can't function, can't think as well. I can skip food. I can handle a lot of stress. I can manage situations, but like you just know, now it might be just different for someone else. So it's not so much a specific thing as it is understanding why that matters and what's, the bigger picture.
Wow.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think on looking at that for treatment programs, like it has to be something else. It's like medicine. It has to be a whole different thing, a disruptive practice, because the current status quo is not fixable. It's not fixable in conventional medicine. It's going to have to be a whole new model.
Yeah.
We know it doesn't work in, most this 30-day. We've done so many of those,
Right.
oh my gosh.
I mean, that's the thing. That
So much money and
Yeah, and I think that is the real opportunity if you really look on like what's working. I think, it's
we got to empower people.
you really do.
They have to understand why they're here and what they want.
To empower, because you have a team and a culture and a community that has to be so empowering as well, and so doing that, I think it's really important. And that's the thing when we do Pacific Shore. It's like one of my main things is keep the vibe up. I'm pretty nurturing and empowering, and that's just like one of my biggest priorities, to make sure the team is cool and they're feeling fulfilled and they have what they need. They see me with the clients. One of my biggest things is to make sure I go down there and bring the energy, and so I have to prepare for that. I go in, I'm like, all right, like I can only give so much, but let me charge myself up here and I'm gonna come down, but I give it, and I think that's really important, But you touched on so many things. I think there is so many different things that we can touch on, because I had a whole list, but I knew we were going to flow. I knew we were, but I think this is going to be, I'd love to do another one with you.
Sure, I'd love that. I'd love that.
Yeah.
And I think I have a lot of hope on things shifting. I think some of the people that the type of brains that I've seen that are more likely to go to addiction are the more powerful brains. They're
Really?
powerful brains. They have a lot of frontal generators, which means they don't think linearly. They can think on complex levels, but that could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's hard to get out of that brain. They use alcohol or marijuana or other drugs to escape it.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of passion and energy, and usually it's coming out wrong. Like I'll use Rachel as an example again. It's like she has someone's given her a Star Wars, sword or something, wand, that's like so powerful. But she doesn't know how to use it. So she's just burning everything down. So then she's drinking to take that energy that she feels, that passion, to suppress it. Because she's associated with a bad thing. Because it's coming out wrong, because she hasn't learned the skills to manage it.
Wow.
Right? Like think of a hose that's just flying. Like you got to manage that. But then you have a lot of power, right? So, I said to her, I think that you need to re-look at not feeling shame about actually who you are, because who you are is really powerful. And this is another John Jolliffe said to me. He said, Cambria, there's a difference between helping people and changing the world. And it seems, they look like they're close and they're the same, but they're not. And I said, what's the difference? And he said, you have to figure out what's keeping you free, keeping you from being 100% free to be yourself. What is keeping you from being 100% free to be who you are? Maybe it's fear or validation or Maybe
Typically
it's judgment,
fear.
right? Yep. And he says, but when you can align that, that's the most powerful, because that's the most authentic piece. That's who you are.
Exactly what you said is what I was telling you. This guy told me he gave me the ring. The same thing.
That is a truth.
Yeah.
That is in our universe, that is a truth. And so that's, I think, if we can help. So I said to Rachel, don't push away, this feeling you have. You have to direct it. Don't feel shame about it. You were given it for a reason. Who knows how many lifetimes you had to live to develop that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's about really helping people find out who they are and not feeling shame about who they are too.
Yeah.
And I had, I had Neil Young in here the other day, singer.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was looking for my stethoscope and I left up the rant or something, and I said something about Rachel, and he's like, oh, she's your daughter. I said, yeah, she's alcoholic. I don't know, something happened. He's like, well, he kind of thought about it for a minute, and he comes out and he's like, tell her that Uncle Neil said that she needs to, next time she wants to get high, that she owes it to herself, because he asked if she was an artist. She owes it to herself to see what that looks like in her art. And I was like, right, yeah, have her go paint, have her go do whatever, but take all that feeling and put it to her art so she at least knows what it looks like.
I almost asked her, because I saw her sketches, and I almost asked her, she ended up following me with the other page because I liked it, but I was like, an intuitive whisper came through. I'm like, you should ask her, are you still doing that?
She just started again. She hasn't drawn since her husband died.
Because I draw every day. I'll sit there for
started.
hours and hours, and I can just get lost in it. And I just really good thing right here.
Oh, Tracy.
But that's
okay.
we did it.
Well, we did it. Yeah. Until next time.
Yeah,
that was fun.
Perfect timing.
Yeah.